Welcome to another edition of Jazz Smack. Tonight, the Utah Jazz traveled to Boston and came away with a heck of a road win. The young players really came through in the clutch in this particular game, and they pulled back into the game in the third quarter, and then the fourth quarter they were able to hang on, make enough plus plays on the defensive end, hustle plays for extra effort plays, and they were able to get the win, and it was an actually great win. Let's take a look at some of the best plays from tonight's game.
Comes to you with the way you play, and Keyonte's got the ball, drives inside, left hand, beautiful layup.
That's straight line again, Bo. He saw the angle right there by the elbow.
And if he takes the foul, you got a three.
Jazz Smack, NBA and Utah Jazz basketball.
So that was Keyonte. In that third quarter, he scored 16 points. He really got the Jazz energized again. He had some terrific drives to the basket, finishing with either hand, and this was one of them there, where he just was able to get into the paint, get right to the glass, and easily finish a play. So that was absolutely terrific. And I want to now cut to one of the other plays that happened and see how excited the guys were on the team. As you know, this was a late game play, and the guys were just so excited, and I want you to see how the bench responds to this particular play.
This nice little righty hook.
Well, look at that Jazz bench jumping. Keyonte tonight.
See, when I see that, I'm thrilled. All the guys on the bench absolutely thrilled with the play by Nurk in that situation, and that was a huge play down the stretch. Nurk, you know, to his credit, the veteran players, we're going to focus on the youth here, but the veteran players also made some big-time plays in order to give Jazz this win. So we're going to look at a number of other clips here. But before that, this was a really interesting game because I watched the Boston feed on this game, and it's Brian Scalabrine and another guy. Brian Scalabrine is the color guy, and it has been for a number of years. So they were saying that the Boston Celtics in this game shot 11 for 51 from the three-point line. They missed 40 three-pointers. The Boston Celtics announcers were saying that of the games where the Boston Celtics have shot 50 or more three-pointers, this is the lowest percentage the team has ever shot. So the Boston Celtics have shot a lot of threes over the last few years, and they have had a number of games where they've shot 50 or more threes. So for them to shoot that low of a percentage, is that due to just being really cold? That's some of it. Is that due to the Jazz playing some better perimeter defense and being involved in those guys missing shots? I mean, there is some of that too. But the interesting thing is it was the Jazz as the opponent that Boston had like a franchise worst night shooting the three ball. I don't know if they've ever missed 40 threes in a game before. It's possible, but they certainly did. As the Boston announcer said, this was the lowest percentage the team has ever shot when shooting 50 three-pointers in a game. So that's actually a very interesting statistic. So let's look at some more highlights. And this, I love this highlight. This is Kyle Filipowski doing the spin moves. He goes right. Boucher cuts him off. He spins back to his left hand and finishes. Is absolutely spectacular. So let's take a look at this one.
Keep it in the check.
About 4.5 seconds separate shot clock, game clock. Jazz have 5. Boucher. How about the spin move by Filipowski?
Beautiful job. I saw Kyle Filipowski do that quite a bit in the Las Vegas Summer League en route to being the MVP with moves like this.
Yeah, that was absolutely a spectacular play. I mean, absolutely beautiful. And this is, like Thurl said, this is what we saw Kyle do in both Utah somewhat, but especially in Vegas, where he received the MVP of the Summer League. I mean, he was awesome in Vegas, and it was on plays like this where he just took advantage. I mean, he can totally take advantage of Boucher from a physical strength standpoint. Boucher's not a terrific defender. He's very slight of build, and Kyle really took it to him. I mean, absolutely spectacular play by Kyle Filipowski in that particular instance. Let's take a look at another video clip from tonight, and this is one of Walt's nice plays. Let's take a look at this.
This game, a none bigger than that bucket. 14-3 run, 4 minutes off the clock. Nurk inside.
And Walt played so under control tonight, and he made that little nice pocket pass to Nurkic, but he played very composed. He was under control. He didn't make he made some defensive lapses. There were a number of defensive lapses by the Jazz tonight, and Walt was responsible for a couple of those at least. But on offense tonight, he was terrific, and he made some timely passes, some timely baskets, and the Jazz were having trouble with turnovers really late in the game, and Hardy inserted Walt back into the game to become a second ball handler next to Keyonte. So that it was showing a ton of faith in Walt in that instance, and that is a great to see, in all honesty. Great to see. So let's take a look at another of Walt's plays.
Kevin Love leaves it for Clayton Jr. He'll run it to the rack and score.
Man, that kid is impressive.
Again, kind of a straight line drive to the basket. He goes to the right, but he finishes with his left hand right off the glass. Beautiful play by Walt, and with his ability to change pace all the time, vary his speeds, he's really good at finding ways to get to the basket when he sees an opportunity to do so. He's demonstrated that in his short time with the Jazz thus far, and that's something I want to see more of as we continue to progress through the season. I want to see more and more plays where Walt is using his experience and using his understanding, where he gets guys on his hip, gets guys on his back to be able to get into the paint and make a play for himself with a floater, or to pass it off to one of his teammates for an easy basket. So let's take a look at one more. This was a plus play by Walt. That was just, an effort play, but it's absolutely vital. If the Jazz want to be good, if Walt wants to be a player in the NBA, these are the type of plays that he must make. So let's take a look at this one.
Bring the crowd back in.
A high loop shot, rebounded by Keita. Jazz get it back. Nice inside pass. Right in the back.
So that was all Walt there. I mean, that was awesome. The Jazz miss a shot. Neemias Queta gets the rebound. Walt goes underneath the basket and just rips it out of Queta's hands, and then passes it back out to Svi on the three-point line. I mean, again, all that was just an extra effort play by Walt, and he just kept the Jazz on the offensive end, and eventually ended up in free throws for Kyle. So again, those are what we want to see. We want to see these type of extra effort plays from the young players in order to get them an opportunity to be on the court more through actually earning playing time. We want a merit-based system where the young guys earn the playing time, and with Walt making a play like this is what we want to see. Let's take a look at one more that I really liked this play, because Walt recognized what was going on the offensive end, and he makes an immediate read, and this is terrific, and Svi makes a three.
Three ball, jumps out. How about that rebound? Clayton Jr. way up high.
James Brown on the bench. The Jazz can take advantage if they do.
So that was absolutely, that play was absolutely awesome, because Walt recognized that there was confusion in the Boston defense. And he immediately recognized it, and Svi was wide open because the guy, the person, I think is Minot, he was not paying attention to where Svi was. He was trying to position himself, and Walt saw that he wasn't, his eyes weren't on Svi, and he just delivered an immediate pass because he knew Svi would have an open look in that situation because the defensive player just was not paying attention. And he did that as Svi went into the shot, easily made the shot. It was perfectly executed. And that's the type of recognition that you want to see from a point guard. I mean, if there's an advantage to be had, you need to take advantage of it. And there was one of these, there was a play at some point in this game where the Jazz were taking the ball out on a baseline play, and one of the Jazz players ended up wide open in the paint, and the person inbounding the ball, the Jazz player inbounding the ball, just didn't see it. And those are the type of plays that we need to recognize more of. And in this instance, Walt certainly recognized it. It was beautifully done. So let's take a look at one more play from this game. And this is a defensive play by Kyle. Now, I know Kyle has really been maligned for his defense, and rightfully so. I'm not saying that his defense shouldn't be heavily scrutinized, and it should continue to be heavily scrutinized. But in this particular play, I thought he did a reasonably good job. So let's take a look at what he did here, defending a perimeter player and making a good effort to get his hand up. So let's take a look at this one.
Anthony Simons. Flip jumps out, trying to protect that three-point line. Hand in air. Shots away, short, rebound. Clayton.
So where we saw there was Kyle. I mean, he was kind of dancing a bit, but he stayed on his toes. He stayed on his toes. His left foot did get a little bit farther down, towards the free throw line than I would have preferred, but it wasn't so bad that he couldn't make up for it, get back to where Simons was shooting that three and get his hand up sufficiently to bother that shot. I mean, with Kyle's length, 6'11", compared to Simons, he has to stay off a little bit. Kyle doesn't have the foot speed, but he got a little bit deep, but he made up for it. And that was overall, I think that was a terrific defensive possession by Kyle, and that's what we want to see. Just contain the guy, don't allow any blow-bys, and be able to contest enough that he makes those three-point attempts more difficult. And I think Kyle did that in this situation. So overall, this game, I thought it was a terrific game. I thought it was a terrific game by the young team. I think I'm thrilled to see the youthful exuberance on the sideline when one of their teammates makes a positive play, makes a big play. You see they're all excited, and the Jazz just can't rack up all losses. They have to have some wins, and some wins on the road are also important. They just can't lose every road game. Now, the Celtics are going through their own struggles, and I don't think the Celtics are really playing for a playoff berth this year. I think they're actually playing for a high draft pick. They want a high draft pick in this Jason Tatum, where he's out this year. They want a high draft pick. But still, the Celtics have a veteran team. I mean, even somebody like Keita, who's their starting center right now. Keita's been around, 4 or 5 years now. The guy out of Utah State. I saw him play at Utah State, and I like Nimi. But he's a veteran player at this point, and he's playing for the Celtics. And the Celtics have, quite frankly, a lot of veteran players with Pritchard and White and Jaylen Brown. I mean, they have a lot of veteran players on that team. So to see the Jazz, contend with that veteran presence and really play a solid game overall. Yeah, the three-point shooting by Boston was atrocious, but that's how Boston plays. They hoist up, I think they're number one in the league in three-point shot attempts. And so, you're going to have some good games and bad games, and the Jazz took advantage of it. That's what they should do. That's what they need to do. If the Jazz want to be a good team, they got to take advantage of it. When, whatever advantages the opponent gives them, you take advantage, period. So those are my thoughts on tonight's game. It was terrific, and pleased that, Keyonte, he scores a huge number of points tonight, 31 points. He gets to the free throw line 13 times. Keyonte takes 16 field goal attempts, but he still shoots 13 free throws. But if you look at like Jaylen Brown, he shoots 11 free throws, but takes 28 field goal attempts. So Jaylen Brown had another nice night, 36 points, 13 of 28 from the field. It's not a terrific percentage, but it's not a bad percentage. But Jaylen Brown was also 0 for 9 from 3, which was, played into, you shoot 9 threes and you don't make any. That's a really tough night, as is reflected by the overall 11 for 51 from 3 by the Boston Celtics tonight. So I commend the guys, and the other guys that played well for the Jazz in terms of statistics. Lowry didn't have a great night tonight. He actually got off to a really slow start, but in the second half, he played much better. So slow start, but finished strong. Taylor still, he gets 14 minutes in this game. He doesn't have a terrific night tonight. Last night against Charlotte, he played much better. Nurkic, solid night. Svi, playing back in Boston where he was previous to coming to the Jazz, 4 for 12, but decent night. But the bench, the reserves for the Jazz really starred in this game. I mean, they were all in the plus-minus area. They were all plus. I mean, if we go down the plus-minus, let's just go down through the entire roster of plus-minus. So I'm not a huge believer in plus-minus, but in this case, you can see how strong the bench play was. And that's why the Jazz were able to win this game tonight. So in the plus-minus, Lowry was -1, Taylor was -15, Yusuf was +1, Svi was -7, Keyonte was -11, and then you get to the bench players with Ace Bailey playing 18 minutes, goes 2 for 4 from the field, 2 rebounds, 4 points, but he's +11. Elijah, he plays 21 minutes. He goes 1 for 4 from the field, 1 for 1 from free throw line, 2 assists, 1 rebound, 1 steal. He's +5. Kevin Love played 16 and a half minutes, 2 for 3 from the field, 1 for 2 from 3, 7 rebounds, 3 assists. He only scores 5 points, but he's also +1. Kyle Filipowski, he plays 19 and a half minutes, 4 for 7 from the field, 2 for 3 from 3, 3 for 5 from the free throw line, 8 rebounds. He scores 13 points and he's +19. +19 and 19 and a half minutes. Now we get to Walt. Walt plays just under 16 minutes. He shoots 3 for 4 from the field, 1 for 2 from 3, 3 rebounds, 6 assists, 2 steals, and he scores 7 points and he's +7. So all those bench guys were in the plus-minus were plus. And obviously that's a huge factor. The young guys played great. And you want to see growth. You want to see improvement. And they certainly demonstrated that tonight. So I give the team a lot of credit. They got down early, but again, they battled back, and they were, and the bench was thrilled to see the players on the court making positive plays, bringing the team back, and the team seemed really together tonight. So I think this is good. And I hope that there's some positive carryover to the next game. They can make the games. I mean, they had a tough game against Charlotte where they were down big. They've had some really difficult games recently where it hasn't been really competitive. Tonight they got a win, and we want to see the games competitive. Yes, they're going to lose a number of games this year, but if they're competitive, they're a heck of a lot more interesting for us, and I think it helps the team and the players grow, and that's the most important factor. So anyway, that's tonight's game. That's a good win for the Utah Jazz, and we'll see what happens with the next one. But anyway, for those watching on YouTube, please like, share, and subscribe. You can also follow us on X @JazzSmack, and we will talk to everybody later.